Hello, everybody, and welcome to Disc Coverers, the only podcast that reads, reviews, and ranks all 41 of Terry Pratchett's Discworld series of comic fantasy novels. I am, as ever, your host, Iris J, pronouns she, z, or they. Joining me today are my illustrious co-hosts. Why don't you kick us off, Belina?
I am still Belina. I think I've usually been giving she/they. I forget at this point, but those are fine right now. And as always, I'm just glad to be here.
Woo! And, Grace?
Hello, I am the internet's beloved Princess Grace. She, her, fey, fair, if you're spicy.
Yowza.
Yeehaw.
And, June?
Hello, I am June, probably. You can't prove anything. She, her, I'm wonderful, and I'm very, very excited to talk about this one.
Me too. Today we are covering Men at Arms, which I believe is our 15th Terry Pratchett book. It's technically the third watch story if you count that one little short story that got published in a book review journal. But overall, the second watch novel, and the one where I feel like the Discworld series really comes into its own as the first book.
Yeah, this is the first Discworld book. The first one we've read, really, you know.
Yeah. That joke just keeps getting funnier every time I tell it.
We're going to be saying it at Snuff. This is really the first Discworld book.
This is really where he really hits his stride at this one, you know? He's the start of the good shit. But legitimately, though, this one feels like, with a few notable exceptions, I feel like this is the one where Terry really, not just for the watch, but for Discworld in general, he locks into a groove. Like, it's the screws on this one are pretty tight. We're ready to like finally hit that escape velocity and turn this from being like a comic fantasy series of novels to the Discworld series, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's interesting because like there's other books that feel like, oh, this is the first. The way I'd say it, the way I was thinking of saying it, this is the second Discworld book. The first Discworld book. Like, a lot of the times before, it was like, oh, this is the Night Watch series. Oh, this is like, you can really see the witches kind of being the witches here. This was just like, oh, this is the Watch characters again, doing an interesting Watch thing. It feels like a sequel. It feels like another part of the series. Another piece of Ankh-Morpork in a way that not a ton of books have felt yet. Carrying something on.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's, I had a lot of fun reading it. It actually has been long enough since I last read it that I totally forgot how it ended, and I was like, whoa, that's pretty surprising, huh? So that was fun.
I was surprised, but I'd never read this book before, so...
Well, that too, yeah.
Why don't we start out by finding out what the book's about?
Yes, let's get into it with our expert synoptrix. Belina, whenever you're ready, feel free to take it away.
Tell us what the hell happened in this one.
All right, I'll try, but this one's kind of hard to summarize, to be honest with you. I didn't think it was going to be, but all right. Anyways, someone has gotten the idea in their head that Ankh-Morpork needs to be ruled by king. This might sound mildly familiar to anyone who read the last Watch book. William D. Ath thinks that it's why his family fell into disrepute, and that's why he fails. Man, this is what happens when I don't rehearse it, is I just completely drop the thread in the middle of it. Anyways, William D. Ath thinks it's why his family fell into disrepute, and when he fails to get literally any other member of high society to help him, he takes matters into his own hands. Discovering evidence that Carrot is the quote-unquote rightful heir of the city, he steals the gun/gone from the only functional firearm in the Discworld from the Assassin's Guild Museum, with the intent to use it to remove any obstacles to putting Carrot on the throne. Meanwhile, Vimes is 2 days from retirement, which also coincides with his marriage to Lady Ramkin. Not knowing how to do anything but be a police officer, this is kind of a problem for him. Also, the Night Watch has been ordered by the patrician to take on recruits from the minorities of the city, so they've got new blood in Cuddy, a dwarf, Detritus, noted recurring troll, and Angua, a hot werewolf lady. After the Watch stumbles upon the theft from the Assassin's Guild, Lord Vetinari explicitly forbids Vimes from interfering, which naturally means that Vimes can't do anything but put the Watch on the case. Cuddy and Detritus become a buddy cop duo. Angua and Carrot slowly form a romantic entanglement, and Gaspode is back somehow to give Angua someone to talk to and to keep trying to be the third point in a love triangle. The investigation itself proceeds mostly through blind luck and sheer stubborn persistence, leading the various watch members across rooftops, through guilds, and into the bowels of the earth itself. More victims pile up, an attempt is made on Vime's life, and clouds are regretfully involved. Oh, right. William's actually been dead for about half the book. After the gun misfired and killed someone that he'd hired to repair it, he tried to come clean to Dr. Cruces, head of the Assassin's Guild. Cruces decided to kill William, take the gun himself, and has been leaving clues to make sure he can frame the body later. It seemed a shame to waste a good plan. Following a failed attempt on Vetinari's life, he leads a merry chase, finally confronting Vimes and Carrot, where he tries to show the latter his royal heritage and insists that he go along with it. Carrot, however, is not really having any of it, dispatches Cruces on the spot. Cuddy is quietly buried with both the evidence of Carrot's lineage and the gun itself, hopefully putting both to rest more permanently, and Carrot leverages both the 50 or so people that have been conscripted into the Watch over the course of the book and his own knowledge of who he is, and expands the organization one large enough to actually function as a police force. Oh, and it also gives him an excuse to give Vimes a reason to come back as the newly appointed captain of the Watch. Commander of the Watch.
Hey!
Yeah, this is why I need to rehearse these more.
No, that was.
I think it sounded great.
That was so much. I'm impressed you did it at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a dense book. It was a mystery novel, and you nailed all the points of it. Thank you.
Yeah. It's a very tightly like compressed book.
Yeah, the big thing is that it's
like a find watch.
It's super woven in on itself. Like half of those things don't take place in the order that I described them.
Mm-hmm. It does it a lot better than previous books too. You can feel kind of the different plot threads turning in on themselves the entire time. It's really good.
It takes its cues from its inspiration well. Like there's Pratchett like cites Columbo's inspiration. If you couldn't tell from Vimes doing the exact Columbo bit in the first half of the book where
I've ever read.
It's so like he's like, all right, I like it. He like pretends to leave. He turns around and goes, one more thing. Now, little question, mine like a sieve, but what did you say you stole again? It's so good.
Oh, so good. Literally, he's just Columbo there. It's very funny. So, what did y'all actually think of the book? Did y'all like it?
I definitely enjoyed it. I'm having trouble actually articulating an opinion on it. I mean, we have the giant disclaimer, ACAB, etc., but at the same time, this isn't really the people that we. This isn't a real-life police force. This is a bunch of idealized versions of what people think the police are supposed to be / what they think that they are if they haven't looked very closely.
I have a whole set of thoughts on that. I'll get into that, but just on a purely like book level, I personally enjoyed it a lot.
I'm glad we're getting into that because before we started recording, like I think it was like yesterday or something, like June, you posted to me a Mastodon like, this is where we finally start talking about the ideology of Discworld with this book, and I'm like,
I was posting about it, like, this could be a two-parter if we get really deep into it, but there's some real ideology here. There's also some really mediocre ideology here that's like, he could do better, but this is where he really starts to develop what it is that fascinates me about Discworld.
And like he hits the nail on some very correct things, and there's also some like, this is a fantasy racism story, and it still has some of the hallmarks of every bad fantasy racism story. There's a lot more texture there. It's a lot more interesting than, I don't know, BNA or whatever. But...
I was going to say Netflix movie featuring Will Smith, Bright, which is also about a fantasy police force.
Yeah,
it definitely is trying, and it's doing it interestingly. At the very least, it's often doing it funnily. There's some great gags with it in this. The recurring gag near the end where Cuddy and Detritus will just respond to like anyone being weird. Like Cuddy will respond to anyone being weird about dwarves, which is like, you're absolutely right, can't stand them. To that person's face is like, it's genuinely a good bit. That's very funny, but like, it doesn't make it good.
Yeah,
it's very fantasy racism.
I'm excited to get to. I feel like the Discworld novels maybe don't get really, and this is me speaking with the haze of years of other things happening between reading these books and now. But I feel like it really doesn't hit its stride with talking about fantasy racism until we get to Thud, which was like, okay, we're finally putting the dwarf troll thing to rest in one book. And I'll be interested to cover that book when we get to it. Here, it's still a little bit like, yeah, okay. And we're still like, yeah, there's no human racism. It's just fantasy racism. Although I think isn't there like some sort of quote in this book that actually mentions like counter to that or something?
Like the book says something like, yeah, there's all different colors of humans, but nobody really bothers to draw a distinction between them because there's trolls to be weird about.
Mm-hmm.
Which is absolutely a lie, but this isn't one that happens.
Yeah.
This book, no humans here are actually from outside of Ankh-Morpork, so they don't get an excuse to be racist at any of them.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't Angua from out of town?
Yes,
Like, they mentioned her
she's from,
skipping town before.
She's from fantasy Germany, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, Uberwald, right?
We'll go out there, but not for a while.
Hey everybody, sorry about that. We had a minor technical glitch, but we're back on the case. Yeah. But yeah, good book, huh? Pretty cool. Cops, thorny subject.
I wanted to say, like, about the whole fantasy racism stuff, it's something I don't think Pratchett ever really got. Like, as much as I think Thud does it pretty well, it's still like, I don't think Pratchett was ever really fully able to grapple with, like, he liked England a lot. He really, really liked England, even as he hated it. And he never fully grappled with, like, hey, your country's built on blood. It's a fundamental part of your foundation. Colonialism is a fundamental part of everything you do. I don't think he fully got that, even though he came a bit closer. I'll be curious to see how close he does. But he certainly doesn't get it here.
Yeah. It's like, again, like I said, it's been a while since I've read Thud, so it'll be really interesting when we get to it and we can be like, okay, so like, did he ever stick the landing on that or what?
Yeah, but meanwhile, 20 books earlier than that.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the book we're actually talking about this episode.
Here you just get kind of his very... It's better than it's been in the past, but it's still a pretty standard, like, if you're racist, you're dumb, so let's make fun of it in a way that isn't actually that great a lot of the time.
Yeah,
right, yeah.
Like it kind of felt like equal rights in parts where it's like, yeah, congratulations, Sir Terry, you're on the correct side of this. But like, yeah, you said racism is bad, we knew that. Come on, what else you got?
That's fair. That being said, I do enjoy that it gave us so much screen time with one of my personal favorite characters in the entire Discworld canon, Detritus, who is making a return appearance here from Moving Pictures. I'm so excited. I love him so much. He's pretty much like fully formed into his whole thing in this book, and like it's great that like we find out that he gets to have depth, he gets to have like character conflict. Oh my god, he
gets some good
he's
jokes.
Like my favorite. He gets good jokes. It's great.
The whole little thing of him being in love with the troll lady from Moving Pictures. Now they're married or engaged
at least.
Yeah,
they're engaged, and she was like, "You need to get like a real job." And he's like, "I guess I got to get a real job that doesn't just involve hitting people with rocks and shit. With this, I get to hit them with the law." It's great, and like the buddy cop dynamic that grows between him and Cuddy is really, it feels like genuine. It's like, oh shit, they really pulled a Tango and Cash scenario on me, and it worked.
Yeah, it's genuinely really fun. I love their kind of back and forth in a lot of scenes. I love their misadventures that they get up to. I love their slow transformation to like, hey, actually, we kind of want to solve this mystery.
Yeah, they. I think it's like Colin says something to a similar effect, where it's like when you hang around Vimes when he's in mystery solving mode long enough, you start to think like him, and you start to be like, well, what if we did solve this? Which is really interesting. Like, nowhere in there, unlike with like regular detectives nowadays in the modern world, where there's so much emphasis put on like, ooh, CSI, ooh, bones. We have like a laser table that can reconstruct crime scenes, ooh, forensics, etc., etc. In this book, like, the Watch has no obligation whatsoever to solve crimes.
Yeah.
They, other than like, quote, keeping the peace, unquote, it is nowhere in their job description to do it. Vimes just does it because he's a stubborn hard ass.
If anything, everyone's telling them not to.
He doesn't like feeling like he's left out. Yeah. And whether that's like in Vetinari's case, telling him not to actually get him to do it, or in literally every other figure of power in the city who's telling him not to because he is being a colossal nuisance. It just makes him want to do it more. It's something, this sort of like bullheaded, like stubbornness combined with the idea that things shouldn't be this way. And that's what makes like Vimes a compelling police officer, because he's very anti-authoritarian.
It's something kind of that you get into a lot with. I mean, I think Night Watch, which is an upcoming book, is fundamentally about like what relation the cops have in Discworld. But like, I was thinking, so the comment about like ACAB and stuff. Well, what are the cops in our world? Like, what are cops? We can have a long discussion, and there's a lot of things they are. They're fascist, evil pieces of shit. If you like the cops, don't listen to our podcast. I'm sorry, I'm getting rid of our listeners, but don't do it. But
I'm surprised you haven't figured this out yet, hypothetical cop-liking listener.
But in general, like, the cops in our world, one way to define them is kind of their job is to defend capital. It's not to defend people, it's to defend capital. They show up for robberies and things like that. Murders and things matter to them so far as people's, like, money and possessions matter. And it's a lot more complex than that, but, like, fundamentally, one of the reasons that cops are so fucking evil is because they will always put the priority of protecting capital above the priority of protecting people, and thus they will always serve the rich corporations, every single person in power, because they have all the fucking capital. And that doesn't exist in Discworld because they privatized it. Like, they don't gotta handle the thieves.
Everyone is telling Vimes to butt out because they've already got people that do exactly that for them.
Right, yeah.
Legally, apparently, the Night Watch isn't supposed to have any authority inside of the guilds because the guilds are allowed to police themselves.
Right. They're literally like privatized police forces in a lot of cases. Thievery has become a protection racket. Like that's basically just like it turned itself into a corporation in a lot of ways. They call it a guild, but like, yeah.
To a more direct relationship to this book, the Assassin's Guild are like licensed murderers, who are basically like treated as normally as any other guild membership, as long as their kills are treated as, just politics, just, business. They're just amusing little peccadillos of the upper class. They don't really actually have any impact on the city. This is just what rich people do to each other.
Yeah, like, they always leave a calling card.
They're also presented as the nobility. The Assassin's Guild is always like all these rich upper class folks. The true sort of, like, they talk a bit about how, like, really rich people often go to the Assassin's Guild because it's the best students you can get here. There's this sense of shitty upper classness to it.
Yeah, they even say that, like, you can't get into the Assassin's Guild unless you're, like, the son of a gentleman or whatever, right?
Yeah. It's weird, in fact, that, like, the university, the magic university, ends up being, while an old shitty boys club, almost less of, like, here's the snobby rich people school, less the Harvard, and more just, like, a weird college. It's fascinating. But, like, so without that, what job do the police have? What point do they have to exist if their job isn't to, like, protect the interests of capital? They don't really serve the state in this, because they only vaguely exist for that. It's a really weird place that the cops are in, and at this point he just answers the question by like, well, they exist because Vimes wants them to. He's not gonna fucking give up.
It's something that Carrot repeats multiple times in the book, that the word policeman comes from the root word police, meaning city. A policeman is literally a man of the city. So who they serve is the city itself, not necessarily the people who run the city, not necessarily the interests of those people, not necessarily any of that, just the city, the greater good.
It's a fascinating perspective. I have a lot of complex thoughts on it that this book doesn't like fully grapple with. Once again, when we get to Night Watch, we'll be way deep in the weeds of this. But like, this book really it hints at it a lot. Like, one of my favorite sections of the book is when Carrot quote unquote tries to court Angua. They go out on a date, and Angua's like, it felt like he was trying to court her, but the only way he could do it was by showing her the city, that he was doing it in the way someone else might take someone out on the date. Like, this is my city, isn't it cool? Isn't this the coolest thing you've ever seen? It's fascinating. Oh, I really love that. I love the grounding that it gets there. The fact that the book is so heavily based on, like, Vimes and Carrot's love of this weird city. They love it in very different ways, but they both fucking adore this city.
It's interesting to compare the two because, like, Vimes is extremely human. And even in this book where he's so clearly trying to get his shit together over the course of the book and, like, try to be, like, not just to be a gentleman and, you know, live up to what he assumes are Sybil's expectations, but also trying to, like, appear like more of a competent professional because now it's not just like him and Nobby and Colin. He has, like, a burgeoning small force now. So he has to kind of keep up more appearances as a leader. And when you compare that to, like, Carrot is this is the weird take that I mentioned on Mastodon too before we started recording. Getting into, like, the third act of the book, it hit me that, like, the other reason that this whole shit in this book, the watch in this book specifically, works is because Carrot is kind of like Superman. Like, the whole, like, oh yeah, well, the watch gets to be, like, the defender of the city and the people and stuff. Carrot is the immovable fulcrum upon which that pivots. Like, he has to be just selfless and really in love with the city and, like, really, like, incorruptible. He has to be the one good cop that makes all of it work. And I think that's, like, that makes the story less of a good analysis of what cops and policing really is. But also, I get that sometimes if you want to keep a story tidy, you need at least a couple of those, like, moving pieces that are guaranteed not to break.
I think it's something Pratchett never really solved, honestly. One of my biggest criticisms of him is that while he truly believes that things could be better, and it's one of my favorite parts of the books is, like, seeing things could be better, he never really solved the issue of, and you just need a good person in charge and that'll fix it. Like, pretty much the reason the city gets better in a lot of ways is usually due to Vetinari being Vetinari and controlling everything. Vimes has that same thing. A lot of his books are based around one dude solving everything by being just a really good dude who keeps fighting even when the chips are down. And
it's great man theory.
Yeah, it's a great book. It's a great writing. It feels good. But, like, at the same time, when you zoom out from it and you say, like, okay, but what happens without these people? What happens without these characters? There's not a lot of great answers, I don't feel. And I don't think he ever answered that question. I don't think he had to, but it is one of the things that I think about a lot with Discworld is just, like, it has this vision of a future, but what does it look like without Vetinari? What does it look like without Vimes? His only solution for a city being shitty was, well, what if there was a perfect dictator? Like,
I mean, he's clearly kind of struggling with that in this book because, Carrot, I mean, it becomes a very important part of Carrot's character that he is, at this point, fully aware of who he is, and, he has some inklings of why he operates as well as he does, but he just keeps steadfastly refusing to call. He's just refusing to go on a hero's journey. Because he just knows full well that if he does, things will go great, but they'll only go great because he's there holding it up, and he doesn't want to hold it up.
Right. He can't bear all of that weight on his own.
The book spends a lot of time, like, openly mocking the idea of having a king. Like, many times, like, from Edward to other folks, the idea of, like, someone would say, oh, we better have a king who's in charge of everything. That would make it better. And that idea is resoundingly and correctly mocked and shot down and everything. Like, the idea that, like, oh, if you had one perfect guy who was in charge of everything, like, that wouldn't really help. But also, we do still have one perfect guy who isn't in charge of everything, but isn't, like, everyone still looks to him. Like,
yeah.
It even gets pointed out that, like, everyone's reporting to Carrot instead of Vimes, who is, like, even when Vimes is right there, and Vimes is their, like, actual guy in charge. But, everyone looks to Carrot because he's the guy with, like, he's the guy everyone likes. He's the guy with enough force of personality to, like, make this actually work.
Carrot, however, does in fact look to Vimes.
Yeah.
I love Carrot so much.
Yeah.
I think that... I will say, on the note of the whole king thing, not to derail, but one of my favorite gags in all of Discworld is just endlessly coming up with weird names for previous kings in the city. Homicidal Lord Winder, deranged Lord Harmony, just like good shit. Always a good shit.
God, yeah. That's like
a lot of visits from Bloody Stupid Johnson.
Man, there was a lot of Bloody Stupid Johnson jokes in this book. It was great.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's something he never fully found an answer to, even though he definitely grappled with it a bit. I think part of it, in my opinion at least, is like, as it goes on, you get this sense from him of how could it not be this way? Because if the people who are fighting are genuinely good people, and not in the sense of like good as in kind and all of these things, but good as in going to fight for a better future, like how could they not try and push things in this direction? How could you have a hero, a main character of a book who isn't like a tragic going to fail hero who doesn't try and do the best possible thing? How could Carrot be anyone different? I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts on it. It's really complex.
No, I mean, feel free to talk about them. That's why we have a podcast about it. But, yeah, I think that, I guess, in Carrot's defense, the other way he reminded me a lot of, like, a Superman type character is because I'm not entirely convinced that, like, we're supposed to assume one for one that, like, Pratchett is saying, like, yeah, this is how cops should be. Like, it's more of because Ankh-Morpork is, like, kind of a more allegorical, nebulous sort of combination of London and New York and basically any major city on Earth. I think we're supposed to see, like, Carrot less as, like, oh, if only this one guy was in charge, everything would be perfect. And more of just kind of, like, an aspirational figure. Yeah. Like, kind of like somebody who's, like, we all have a little bit of Vimes and a little bit of Carrot inside of us. And inside of you, there are two boys, right?
Mm-hmm. They're kissing now. Were they supposed to?
And now they're making out. One of them's transgender. Wow. But, yeah, like, and when faced with crises, we can either try to, like, it helps if we could draw in part of us that, like, is down to treat everybody as, like, one big city and try to be communal and try to be, like, really rallying for the cause and stuff. And also there's a very useful part of us that is just about being fucking stubborn and about, like, sticking to your guns and following through despite everyone telling you not to. Like, it's the idea of how to, I guess, like, they're kind of like metaphors dressed up in people clothes.
Yeah.
And I think from that angle, yeah, I think Carrot and Vimes definitely work as a great dynamic for each other, and that works. But
for the record, when I say like he never really solved that problem, I mostly mean it in the case of Vimes and Vetinari, who very much kind of. There's other characters too. Moist eventually is kind of a bit of this, and it doesn't help that Moist was kind of being pushed as to place Vetinari, but that's way in the future. But like other stuff, but there's a little bit, especially with the Ankh-Morpork books, of just like, well, we just need this good person is in charge of everything, and that's why things work. Vimes is fundamentally a good person, even though he's a bit of a piece of shit in a lot of ways. He is fundamentally one of the best people in Discworld. I'll argue that for a while, but that's a long ways off. And yeah. In this book, though, you mostly get Carrot going, hey, if I was a king, that would be a fucking nightmare for everyone, so I'm not going to.
But I will tell everybody what to do just because I want to believe they're good people. And you don't want to disappoint me, do you? You don't want to disappoint little old me on my birthday, even. I'm just a little birthday boy.
Carrot and his big sword that he can. I did really appreciate the like. Throughout the book, the other thing is like, oh yeah, the king's the guy who can pull a sword from a stone, and we get several times like pulling a sword out of a stone isn't that hard. Honestly, it sounds like kind of a scam. Show me the guy who put the sword in the stone in the first place, and well, sure enough, in like the back, couple pages of the book. Carrot puts a sword through a guy and into the granite wall, just in case you had any doubts.
Yep.
I love the difference between Carrot, the whole, this is cutting ahead, but like the whole interplay between him about Angua saying to Vimes, personal isn't the same as important, in this moment that's just like, holy shit, he's actually that much like, I don't care about myself, I care about doing what's right. That's the only thing that matters. What matters to me, like, no internal emotions, just being a good person. The ultimate hero. And then at the very end with the werewolf scene, you get like, oh no, he wasn't that at all. He maybe a little, but he had something else going on. And it's a great little like switch off of that, because you never really know just how much Carrot is who he looks like he is. That's one of the best parts of him.
He's a much more complicated character than he was the last time he showed up, and that's it's kind of wild just thinking about that.
Oh, I love him.
Yeah, God, he was really like, this book really makes the version of him in Guards feel way more embryonic.
Yeah.
I mean, we're still in the phase where a lot of stuff is just Pratchett grabbing stuff that he did once before, and it's like, okay, hold on, I need to actually do this right now. Because like Carrot is very much just like a Tom John, only he's actually allowed to interact with the plot at all. Since he's he's some misplaced king who got raised by some other group. Now he's come back, and he really should be put in charge, but he doesn't really want to.
Yeah.
With the same kind of magical charisma and just always knowing what to say, etc., etc. He's very much that guy again. And like I was joking in the summary, like this starts with the same outline of someone going, okay, Ankh-Morpork will be perfect, but it needs a king. Why it needs a king is different this time around, but it starts from the same place, and then it's like, okay, how can I actually make this work this time?
Which, speaking of, we got Scrofula again.
Yeah, the Scrofula joke keeps coming back.
Can we get another tally up on the Scrofula meter count we got going?
I don't know.
More importantly, we got Gaspode again. He's back.
Yeah.
Gaspode the Wonder Dog.
Except he could talk for a different reason this time.
I will say, I love the reasoning for it, specifically from Gaspode, where he's just like, happened again, don't want to fucking deal with it, I'm thinking again, last time I had to save the world, this shit sucks. Like, it's so funny.
This keeps happening.
He's such a terrible character, but he's good at it.
Yeah. He's got every disease. He's got fucking Three Stooges syndrome.
he's just kind of awful in a lot of ways. And
he's great.
I think like he's the sort of comic relief character that Pratchett has had a lot of, but it works a lot better here just because like he's not the main focus of the story, and 90% of it isn't about what a comic relief he is.
I mean, his main job is to be there so that Angua can talk to somebody.
Yeah. I can't wait until the next book when she gets to talk to someone else. She gets to talk to like my favorite character, which is even better.
How do we feel about Angua, by the way?
I want to hear what Grace thinks of Angua. That's what I want to hear first. Is it Angua or Angua?
I don't know her personally, so I couldn't say.
I've always pronounced it Angua.
Oh, I always think Angua.
Huh.
But you're
Readers,
probably
let
right,
us know.
honestly.
Well, personally, if I slept with a girl and then she turned out to be a werewolf, I would not draw my sword, except as a flirt.
You have already been. You have firsthand experience with this already.
Yes.
I would draw my sword and I would tilt her chin up ever so gently with the tip of it, and I'd be like, "Get the U-Haul, because we're moving in together."
Yes, obviously. I don't know how Kara fucked this up.
We sure the gender of sleeping with someone and then panicking and pulling a weapon on them sure is a scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really love Angua, and there's a lot of gender to her.
Oh yeah. It's very hard for me to not just sit there chanting it under my breath every time she shows up.
Yeah, she's one of those big genders, huh?
Yeah, I liked her a lot. I liked, it did feel like she spent a lot of the time just like hanging out with Gaspo. She didn't like talk to the other watch much, which kind of annoyed me.
Yeah, that gets a lot better in the next book, and then from now on, when she's just kind of like a set member of the Watch. In this book, there's a bit too much, a woman in the Watch, what? Like, for my taste, but I still love her so fucking much.
Yeah, there's the whole thing about, like, oh, she can't use a bow because of her titties, and kind of the whole swerve where, like, at first, we think she's been added to the Watch because she's a woman, but it turns out it's because she's a werewolf.
And werewolf count as undead in this universe because, people tend to lump those together.
Yeah, it is weird that, like, as much as the book says fantasy racism is bad, everyone's still racist against the undead.
The book is just not good at that.
Yeah.
If only we had another member of the Watch who is very, very good at pointing this fact out. If only. Oh well.
If only Angua wasn't the only woman in the Watch. If only. That would be really
if only.
nice.
If only. Oh well, whatever. I'm sure that problem will never be fixed ever. But yeah, I liked Angua a lot. I liked that, like, the whole bit with her and Gaspode and, like, the fucked up dog cult near the end was so, like, Fido. Strange.
Yeah. It feels like a bit from a different book that snuck its way into this one.
Yeah, like it was like written separately, and then Terry was like, "Oh, I could just fill for time. What do I do with Gaspode, a character who really is not in this book for any reason other than haha talking dog funny? Oh, here's a conflict at the last minute. There you go."
Well, everyone's wrong about wolves, I guess. I don't know.
There's a
It kind of runs with the theme, like, the dogs are wrong about wolves or whatever, or, like, a wolf only knows how to be a wolf. Kind of goes with what I was trying to say about, like, a clown can't not think like a clown, an assassin can't not think like an assassin, a cop can't not think like a cop. But the dogs isn't quite the same thing.
Yeah, and I guess it also has something to say about, like, putting, like power and authority and institutions of enforcing that. And I think it's like with the dogs especially, there's a very strong parallel drawn to like fascism and like this idea of making up a bullshit idea of a glorious past in order to tell a present group of downtrodden individuals that they're shit, but they can win their rights back by believing in that past and by getting violent and trying to restore things back to the way they used to be. Honestly, I think it tackled that theme maybe a little more acutely than the whole Gone subplot. But
Yeah, it's-
also it was just very odd to have it out of nowhere.
So, it's interesting how the gun is kind of not important to this book.
Yeah.
Like obviously it's the central thing in the book, and we can talk about gun control. That'll be another fun politics discussion in this chapter. But like in this episode, you could replace the gun with a fancy crossbow or a poison or literally anything, and it wouldn't change the book like at all.
Yeah.
It keeps acting like it has something to say. I mean, literally in some cases.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you're right that the murders weren't really the important part most of the time. Like the only time it did anything that was important to its nature as being a gun was so that Vimes would kind of accidentally get the clue when there's the attempt on his life, and B for the attack that leads them on the final chase. But again, like it's just a gun.
Yeah.
Like the book is correct in that, like, I don't know, there's a very broad swath of people for whom owning a gun just completely breaks their brains. But like, it seemed like a weird thing to tackle in your book that's by and large about, you know, other shit.
Yeah, it feels strange. I think you could make a connection. If I was going to make a connection, I would say something like kind of the assumption of just there's a lot of stuff in this book about like people with power and the way that they exercise it, and the fact that the gun is just kind of this thing. Like, one thing I really do like about the gun is the fact that they never really reveal what's up with it. It immediately makes 3 different people go basically insane as soon as they touch it. The first person actually manages to come clean and then immediately gets murdered, and then the head of the Assassin's Guild just starts killing people at random, basically. Just becoming a weird serial killer for figureheads.
Which is weird because he already was a weird serial killer before he got it.
Yeah, that is weird. But then, like, even Vimes gets it, and Vimes immediately wants to start using it. And there's this sense of just, like, the power of having it, the power of having a gun in your hand, and that being the thing. Not that it's some magical force, something from the dungeon dimension, or some horrifying artifact or something, but just that the reason that it speaks to you, that it makes you want to do this, is just because you have so much more power in your hand right now than anyone else in a room. And that's horrifying on a fundamental level. And like the cosmic horror of that, of being the only person in a room with a gun, is really interesting. But
yeah, like there's no magic. I mean, it kind of can talk, but there's no magic to it. The horror is extremely mundane.
Yeah.
I think you hit on a good point there.
But I'm not really sure. Like, it's still just kind of there. I could try and connect it to like the ideas, the things this book has with fascism and other stuff, but mostly it's just kind of like Pratchett came up with a good idea involving the cosmic horror of a gun, and then that was the plot device.
It's another idea leaked in from a neighboring universe, and that fucks everything up. We got to stop it now thing. Which, you know, as we've said, like that kind of template is not uncommon in early Discworld books. But it's maybe getting a little thin at this point.
Yeah.
That being said, I think it is interesting when you frame it in that manner. I think there could be a lot of really fascinating parallels you could draw between how the gun is treated in this book and with another piece of media that came out around the same time in 1983, the popular Jim Carrey vehicle, The Mask, in which there is another item that...
I was so fucking excited for this. I was so interested in what you had to say. Like, oh yeah, we're really gonna unpack the interesting themes in Discworld this time. Really getting into it. So excited
when
to
people
talk about
it,
Discworld with my friends.
They tend to lose themselves in it.
What is the Discworld version of the sperm scene?
Hold on.
Well, that's
hold
son
on,
of a
one
mask.
sec.
Well, that's a different.
Okay. But I will point out that if we weren't talking about the Jim Carrey vehicle and we were talking about the actual comics version of the mask, you immediately run into some one-to-one stuff because the comics were super fucking dark. Because the entire point was that the person wearing it does have cartoon physics for themselves, but nobody else does. So yes, he'll pull up a hammer out of nowhere and hit you over the head with it, but you're not going to be turned into a cute little pancake that swirls around like a coin coming to rest. You're just going to fucking die. So, and those stories are all about, somebody gets their hands on literally unlimited power and they immediately go insane.
Yeah. I think
that goes 1-1, but the movies were not that.
I know what I'm talking about sometimes, sort of.
I think the most interesting way to kind of bring everything together in this book is the ending scene with Carrot, where Carrot just walks up, sees the gun, Vimes is like, don't touch it, and Carrot's like, that sure is a thing, and then just destroys it instantly. And I saw some people online saying that this might be because there's the only other character to really encounter the gun and seem vaguely not interested in it is also a dwarf, which could be kind of if you're looking at it from a more mechanical,
he
this
does
is a
just
device,
pick it up and go, it's a tool.
Yeah,
so
this is just a tool.
He does treat it exactly the same way that Strong on the Arm does.
Right, yeah. But also, I think there's a really easy thing to say of just Carrot doesn't really have the thing of, hey, this could give me power. This could give me power over everyone that the gun seems to immediately impress on everyone. Carrot already has that.
Yes.
Yeah, he already has
that
power
all the time, which is certainly a choice. It's interesting. So yeah, I think there's a bit there, but I'm not quite sure how to feel about it all. Also, Carrot straight up murders a dude.
Yes.
Yeah, that's wild.
He just fucking stabs him.
Similar to Brutha. What if we made our first commandment, do not kill? Well, I don't know about that,
Thou shalt not kill unless really badass in the moment.
Really feels like it, or, he's a jerk and stuff. And
but no, you're right that because the whole argument they have there is, we don't want people to not do things because we said that they're bad. We want them to not do things because they know they're bad things to do, and that's Carrot's entire point. Is I don't want any to be in charge because people will obey me because it's just me. But what happens the second I nip off camera for a couple of minutes?
What happens if you become a different person as you get older? What happens if you die suddenly? What happens if you decide you don't want to be king anymore? You can't create a system where you are what do they call it in engineering when there's a bridge and then there's a point?
Yeah, the linchpin, a bus factor of 1.
Yeah. You can't make yourself the linchpin of the whole operation, because if you fuck up for any reason, then that system is going to come crashing down. Hey, speaking of assassins and misery and total abject terror, how did you feel about the Fool's Guild in this?
Felt bad for them mostly.
Oh god!
I do need to put the footnote here that the stuff about the Hall of Faces, the bunch of eggs with faces painted on them, that shit's real.
I was gonna
museums
say
like that in the world.
Yeah. There's a whole
fucking
thing about
awesome.
Cloud faces being protected. Also, I did appreciate the joke where when you go to knock on the door to the Fool's Guild, the knockers are just a big pair of brass tits.
With the joke being that this would only be funny to somebody who had their sense of humor surgically removed.
Yeah.
Which is a lie. It's funny as it is.
Yeah.
I have to say I found the Fool's Guild incredibly funny, but obviously not in the way the Fool's Guild like the entire funeral scene is so fucking funny.
Yeah.
Where it's just them doing the worst clown funeral imaginable, where the ashes get spilled down someone's pants, and the band knocks all of each other over, and the two people watching, I don't remember who exactly it is, are just oh, this is real bad. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
It was really
so
good.
fucking funny.
And the leader of the clown guild is one of those weird French clowns that nobody likes that are just kind of unsettling.
Oh, it's very, very funny. It's a really great bit. I'm not sure how it really works in terms of the whole mystery.
I think it works more in terms of it is a very weird Discworld set piece.
Yeah.
It is very funny that the Assassin's Guild and the Fools Guilds are friends with one another.
Yeah, they share a wall.
Another great joke in this book of the Gamblers Guild and the Alchemists Guild being across the street from each other. When you ask the Gamblers Guild, why do you have your guild across the street from the place that blows up once a week? It's like, did you read the sign above the door?
Yeah, it's good.
It's a good bit.
Okay, I also got to give them credit here for the exact same reason as the Hall of Faces. The nonsense about them working with nitrocellulose because they're done working with octocellulose and they're trying to use it to make artificial ivory, that shit's real as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, high explosive that was originally developed with the intent of making artificial ivory is unfortunately something that happened.
Oh my god.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exploding pool balls legitimately were a problem before modern plastics were perfected.
That's wild.
Yeah. The real world is fucked up in ways that fantasy sometimes cannot keep up with.
Oh, the other thing the clowns do at least is that it's like, because one of the things the book is, keeps talking about is like, your job, the way you're trained, like shapes your brain. Like we get the clowns, like we get this guy, Boffo, the door clown who's on probation or whatever. And he's like, they try to ask like, okay, but like, what if Bino, the clown who died, what if someone like painted their face to look like his? And he just cannot comprehend it. Such a thing is unthinkable to him. A clown would, like, the face is the person to a clown. Like, they cannot comprehend someone, like, wearing another clown's face without being that clown. Which is the same as, an assassin, an assassin couldn't kill someone without leaving a calling card doing it the right assassin way. Or how, a cop is always a cop. They can't stop being a cop just because they're off duty or whatever, or because they retired.
In the Discworld, this is a good thing. In our world, it definitely isn't.
Exactly. Like, it's wild to see Pratchett hit on these things that are true for, ideology reasons, but in our world, that's a bad thing. But here it's like, Angua says, like, oh, well, Carrot says I don't have any sex while I'm on duty. I'm a watchman, just like you guys.
I laughed at that gag.
Yeah,
I'm not ashamed to
good.
admit it. It was funny.
But it's, cops are always cops. Being a cop, like, beats whatever other identities you have. Cop just comes first. And there's even a gag about, like, you never really clock out when you're a cop, which is a great deal for the city because they only pay you to be a watchman 10 hours a day.
Oh my god. Does that mean this book literally introduced the concept of assigned cop at birth? Holy shit.
Yeah, and here it's framed as a good thing. It's framed as like, it doesn't matter what you are, as long as you're working for the good of the city and that's all that matters. Whereas in real life, it's this horrible thing, cops are fucking class traitors. They're, it doesn't matter what else you are. Copness will always win and turn you into this horrible tool of violence.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing too.
This is a recurring hard times bit. Like, diversity win. This person is now a cop, and no, that's bad.
Yeah.
Well, that's the problem too. Is that like in the real world too, they also have near unimaginable amounts of wealth and also guns. Two things that the cops in this book do not have. Mm-hmm. So, and I do think that there's something to be said for like, while this book is ostensibly, this book doesn't actually have a hell of a lot to do with gun control beyond the vague themes that we poked at. I think that within the context of like it talking about policing and shit, and about how with the book there's kind of the unspoken thing of like with like, oh no, movies are coming in. What'll happen if movies happen? Well, then we just get our world where there's movies. What'll happen if like what's another thing that was trying to break its way into the world of Discworld from the outside?
We'll get to soul music eventually.
Soul music. We'll get soul music next. Actually, it's the next book in the the series. Yeah,
I'm excited.
But with this one, it's like, what would happen if guns became a thing? And it's like, well, we can already very easily imagine that, and it would be like, oh, it would be a nightmare. The Watch would be terrible people, and also like Ankh-Morpork would be so much more dangerous because it would be a constant standoff between everybody in the fucking city. And then it's like, oh shit, wait, that's how we live now in the real world. That sucks ass.
Yeah, like I don't want to like get into an argument about like gun control in America because oh boy.
I mean,
but like
Pratchett was very much writing this as a British person looking at guns.
Yeah, this book understands something that I fully agree with, which is guns are horrifying.
Yeah.
It is utterly horrifying to have a tool of death like that in your hand that you could use at any moment.
Yeah, he was completely correct that guns break your brain.
Yeah. It's kind of the reverse of what I disliked about moving pictures. Because the thing I didn't like about moving pictures is that it's like, oh, there's the film industry that's being corrupted by capitalism because it's endemic to an industry like this. But no, it's not actually the problem is capitalism. The problem is that it came from another world. Here it's like, the gun is just kind of a thing. It's not from some other place. It's not some, like, horrifying thing. It's just a gun. It's just having a gun is a nightmare.
Yeah.
That is the horror.
Yeah.
Owning a gun is horrifying.
I mean, it's more specifically that you've got it and literally nobody else does, which I think is a significant difference, but still.
Yeah.
So on a completely different subject, what did y'all think of the cute romance in this book, Carrot and Agua?
Aww.
No, genuinely, what did y'all think?
It felt like it kind of
think-
stuck up at the end, IMO, if only because Angua spends most of the book with Gaspode.
Yeah, I feel like it really felt like Terry had to be like, okay, well, I can't make Carrot too perfect or else this whole relationship arc will work out. So we got to have him say he hates the undead. There we go. There's the conflict. By the end of the book, he doesn't hate the undead. Problem solved. That felt a little contrived to me.
Yeah.
But that being said, I like both of the characters, and I will root for these hats to succeed. For as far as we know. I mean, there was that one fanfic where Carrot turned out to be a trans woman, which I of course wholeheartedly support. But
I like them. I didn't see it, I guess, as much as like it is a bit like, oh, we have to make Carrot not perfect, but also I kind of Carrot's never been perfect. He's always been very specifically a like specific type of dwarf in some ideological ways that like sometimes are not great. We'll get more on this later when it comes to gender. But like. I feel like that kind of ties into the whole thing of like Carrot as this perfect leader, this idol that could lead the city and be king. It's like, yeah, he can make everyone be a good, stand-up, loves their mom person, but he's not great all the time. And sometimes he's got some weird shit. And not everyone should be the cute, cuddly fairy tale version of themselves. It's not necessarily good.
oh yeah. I would love to see Carrot be more imperfect.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, we do get more moments of that in the future. I don't remember it clearly, though. So I'm excited to rediscover those moments.
Whispering to my date, that's Discoverers.
Shit, that's the name of the show.
There's evil within, too.
I will say I did, as I said, I absolutely loved the scene at the end with Kara and Aqua. That was cute. That's cute as shit.
Yeah,
just
that was
having the dead body and
cute.
just being like, okay, I really, really hoped that you weren't dead. Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Has to be
cute.
silver, right?
That's very cute. Yeah.
Aw.
So, do you think Angua like blew his back out right there, or do you think like there was foreplay first?
She did it once already.
Yeah. She already pegged him.
That's true. Yeah. Do you think she like nodded him, or I don't know. I don't want to get into that too deep, but
Now, let me
We
tell
are
you about my...
Discovers, the one podcast that will attempt over the next 30 or something books to answer the question, has Angua nodded Carrot?
Now, let me tell you about my Discworld ABO AU.
Oh no!
As we know.
Hard no, red light.
extremely big Fido voice, like wolves, we have a hierarchy.
God.
But you can't even do that because this book makes it very clear that like Pratchett knows that the alpha wolf thing is bullshit.
Yep.
Wolves never had to stuff towels under the door to get hungry alphas from scenting you. So, hey, changing gears. Did y'all have a favorite joke in this book? There were some pretty good ones.
There were a lot of funny moments, but like I'm not sure if there was any specific jokes that I would highlight. Like I really like the gag when Cuddy and Detritus are going through the sewers tunnels, realizing where they are, and then just realizing, oh, we're in the bowels of the earth. I liked that joke, but that wasn't even treated like a joke. It was treated like a statement of fact.
Yeah, like there were fewer like laugh out loud jokes. There were some I enjoyed, like we're talking about the shitty thief who stole fire from the gods, but he couldn't fence it because it was too hot.
He got burned on that deal.
Yeah.
But Tish.
Yeah. Also,
I think my absolute favorite joke in the book was the recurring gag of we're dealing with someone with a twisted mind.
Yeah.
You suspect Nobby Knobs? No.
Yeah.
What are you talking? Like
Yeah.
that happens like 3 times, and I laughed every time.
yeah.
There was a joke I marked down as extremely gracecore, which was Ha! You're right. Assassins and licensed thieves and bloody vampires. This was a great old city once, lad. Unconsciously, they fell into step, proceeding. When we had kings, sir. Kings? Kings? Hell no. A couple of assassins looked around in surprise. I'll tell you, said Vimes. A monarch's an absolute ruler, right? The head honcho. Unless he's a queen, said Carrot. Vimes glared at him and then nodded. Okay, or the head honchette. No, that'd only apply if she was a young woman. Queens tend to be older. She'd have to be a honcharina? No, that's for very young princesses. No, a honchessa, I think.
That was
Okay,
so
you're right.
good.
That is a joke that Grace has gone through with a different set of words conjugated. I'm sure.
It's such a good bit.
It's classic. It's great.
There was when they wind up in the sewers and Detritus is like, yeah, they realize they're in the sewers and Detritus is like, Ankh-Morpork, land of opportunity, where even the shit has its own street.
God.
Greatest city in the world.
The whole bit they did where Vimes is like, get me some coffee as black as a moonless night, and like the guy's just like, well, weren't there stars on a moonless night? Like lots of them, so it wouldn't be that black. They just have this whole conversation where Vimes gets more and more frustrated.
It's a fucking Twin Peaks joke.
It's so dumb.
It's like a first episode Twin Peaks joke. There's a bunch of these little ones where he's just making any number of police jokes or just sticking routines where they don't belong.
Yeah. There's a Die Hard reference where he's like, one of the holding, like, I think Vimes is holding the gun and the other guy's like, you can't shoot me, you're a guard, there are rules for guards, and Vimes almost says like, yeah, that's what my captain keeps telling me thing. You also get this a pretty good bit where Cuddy, like, someone says like, well, you know what they say about dwarves, and Cuddy's like, no, I don't. Nobody told me what they say about dwarves. I'm a dwarf and nobody told me. And he keeps asking like everyone they meet, like after they question everyone, and nobody tells him until it finally pays off with this whole bit like, well, yeah, people always say dwarves are well endowed, and he's, well, I guess I have like $50 in the bank. It's like, no, well endowed, like, they event, and it ends in this whole joke about like, well, they eventually figure out it's a penis reference, and he's like, well, but they say you love gold, right? Well, dwarves don't really love gold. They just say that to get it into bed.
It's a long bit, but it sort of works. There's a bit too much of like the whole, wow, haha, look at these characters that aren't dealing with racism by making jokes about it to it. But like it did make me laugh at the very end there, just from the lead up and all that. I did love Nobby with all the weapons.
Yeah.
When he's spinning the Morning Star, and just like, you can stop spinning. He's like, I don't know how! I can't make it stop!
But also, like, the bit where they're getting into the armory and, like, Nobby Knobs coming through in the clutch with his weird encyclopedic weapon nerd knowledge and ability to completely bullshit people. That's why you have that guy in the team.
Yep.
Him
Or
bullshitting
Nabi-
people was an Eddie Murphy reference of all fucking things.
That and then his entire scene where he's like, Colin's like, you know how long a body's been dead, right? You were on battlefields. And it's just like he won't talk about where he was or which side he was on or what he was doing, but yes, he can do that.
Yeah, I'm glad
He
he gets
sucks so
something.
much. I love him.
Because there's just a lot of jokes just about Nabi. Like, he's always the butt of the joke if there's not one present. I'm glad he got to do something.
Yeah, he's certainly in the next book.
Yep.
I did like the nerd humor of the fact that troll brains are made of silicon, so they're actually computers, which is why Detritus can count to 2, and as a result of being able to count to 2, he can count in binary.
Yeah.
And
that was really good.
That's good
there was
shit.
some weird nonsense in there, but on the plus side, the final payout of all of that was the fact that now Detritus is allowed to at least be somewhat clever. So he's actually going to be a much more bearable character now.
Yeah, he gets his flowers for Algernon moment in a meat freezer because if his brain is a computer, that means it works better when it's cooled, so they make him a fucking heatsink hat.
Yeah, they give him a sick-ass gamer hat.
Yeah, they should give him RGB lights and underglow.
Yeah. Fucking tight. 360 no-scope, baby. But he actually keeps that helmet throughout the rest of the series, and I forgot that it was actually built by Cuddy for him.
Yeah.
So him wearing it is like also a way to kind of keep his first friend on the job with him, which is like it actually really fucking got me when I got to the book where it was like, oh yeah, my dwarf friend made this for me so that I can be better at my job. And knowing that like he continues, like that's what makes him a good recurring character. It really fucking got me that it's like, oh, it's a way that Cuddy really didn't actually die. He's still around for Detritus. That's I don't know.
Aww.
That shit fucked me up.
Aww.
While we're also talking about recurring bits that we do on the podcast, I might as well also bring up the most British fucking thing in this book that I found, which was the footnote about
British Rail.
That was one thing. I was going to say a different food that can be bought in Ankh-Morpork. Also to be bought in its well-stuffed emporium are slumpy, jammy devils, thickened haddock, distressed pudding, clooty dumplings, and not to be forgotten, the knuckle sandwich, made from finest pig knuckles. Not for something it is said, for a true taste of Ankh-Morpork, try a knuckle sandwich. And then there's a sub-footnote within the footnote that says, not to be confused with the Scottish clooty dumpling, which is a kind of suet pudding full of fruit. The Ankh-Morpork version sits on the tongue like finest meringue and on the stomach like a concrete bowling ball. I did not know what a clooty dumpling is. I'm still kind of unclear, but damn, that British as fuck.
This book finally made me look up what treacle is. Which it's molasses. It's different from molasses, but it's the same kind of thing. But I assumed it was, I don't know, some like fucked up food they invented during the Blitz, or like a weird nonsense candy or something.
Yeah, this is
Like
probably
what
like
Vegemite is to
Bovril, isn't it? Where it's
Australians.
like meat tea or something.
Yeah.
No, it's
Yeah.
just molasses.
Yeah.
What y'all think of Cuddy dying though? That sure is a thing that happens.
I was very sad
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, Cuddy got done dirty.
Yeah, he just kind of died off screen. Like, he just got shot.
Yeah, that sucked ass.
He didn't necessarily get shot. He got thrown off the tower.
Yeah.
I really love the scene after his death, with death, where he's just like, I'm not going anywhere until I get a fucking proper dwarf burial. I'm gonna sit around and haunt their ass. Just like it's a great moment for him after all of this. Like, they'll come fucking through. I trust them in this shitty, mean way that like he is over the book. It's good stuff.
Oh.
But yeah.
Speaking of death has this recurring bit in this book where he like he tries to make jokes to people after they die, like to add some levity to the process. And the first, like, we get this dwarf named Bjorn, and he mentions he's into reincarnation, and just like, so you'll be Bjorn again, and it just goes completely over his head.
Yeah,
Which isn't too surprising. Death
Yeah.
is very tall.
Yeah.
it's a pretty good bit. I like that, and then also the whole scene at death with the Fool's Guild clown. It's just like, in the next life, will there be pies thrown everywhere? Will there be like trousers falling down all this? No. Oh, I think I'm gonna like it then.
Yeah, thank God.
Oh, thank fuck. That's good stuff. There's a lot of good stuff in this book.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't realize this is the book that had both Vimes' boot theory and the whole thing about like if there's a man pointing a gun at you, you better hope he's an evil man because the evil man will gloat. Well, a good man will just kill you right there.
Which is
We're past the hour mark, and like I'm gonna be real. After finishing this book, I dead ass forgot that this was the one where Vimes' boot theory came up, and that's probably the most ideology part of this book that people repeat.
Yeah, like
it's the meme part.
I'd heard of it before I even like read any Discworld.
It's interesting how it comes up because it's Vimes complaining about his rich wife. Like, I love Sybil and I love Sybil and Vimes so much, and we will see more of them, and I will forever be like, Sybil is one of my favorite characters in all of Discworld. She doesn't do much in this book, and I'm very mad about it. She shows up later, and it's better, but like, Vimes in here is just kind of like, wow, she's rich. That sucks. That's weird. And that's the source of the quote, which is weird because I think Discworld is very, very, very much about class in a lot of ways and like money and power and those dynamics. So to have like the quote that everyone uses just come kind of from, haha, well, look at how rich my wife is really weird.
My wife!
Well, he's specifically talking about the fact that she's so rich that she doesn't have to spend money.
Yeah.
Which is the crux of the Boots theory.
Right. It's a good bit. It's just strange to come from that.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I could have sworn that this came up in the last. I could have sworn this happened in Guards. I could have sworn that it's like a recurring bit, but I can very easily be wrong.
It also kind of feels like something that like a joke that Terry wrote down separately and was like, I gotta find a spot for this. This is too juicy to not put in the book. So
it is really fucking juicy. It's a great quote.
It is so juicy. It's if fucking Twitter existed in '93, oh my god, that shit would be getting so many faves.
Yeah.
It was called
so
Usenet, and Pratchett was very active on the Usenet group.
Yep.
There you go. Original poster, Sir Terry. Incredible.
Like, there's even a guy at this which is like him making fun of the way people talk on Usenet, like the Duke of Earl or whatever. He says, in my humble opinion, like people used to on Usenet back in the day.
I didn't even realize that was what I was referencing. That's great.
I only caught that because it's in the L space annotations.
Oh, thank God for the L space annotations. What would we do without them?
Shave about half an hour out of every episode.
I'm looking forward to the next book where Pratchett talks about his time visiting Digimon Otis and putting cups too close to the edge of the table.
I was gonna say, not to like circle around, but like we talked a lot about like all the stuff we liked. We covered it a bit, but like, what did y'all not like about this book? What didn't it do well? I remain the downer of Discpod. Like, what were the things that you thought just didn't quite work? Whether in like a book way or in a that racism part sure was a thing.
I mean, you've hit most of the bad parts yourself. Yeah, and like there was plenty of complaining earlier in the episode, and thankfully, June, you did spearhead a lot of that, and I'm thankful for that because you articulated it a lot better than I can.
Yeah, June.
I'm usually very surface level about these things.
I will say, just to like follow that up, I think like one of the weakest things here is Pratchett doing what it's very, very tempting for literally every fantasy author ever to do, which is these two groups are racist at each other because of fantasy race reasons. Yeah. See? They don't like each other because the joke of like dwarves mine things and trolls are made of rocks so they hate each other is okay, but then having that be the basis of your fantasy racism, I mean, literally always sucks. It's never good.
Now, every single time you see fantasy racism, the problem is always the fact that the fantasy racism is rooted in things that are actually true, which is sort of kind of goes against, if you're going to make it a race allegory, you can't give the people you're saying are racist and therefore wrong perfectly legitimate and actually real reasons to hate these people.
Yeah, it's the X-Men problem. Like, yes, they're a metaphor for being an oppressed minority, but they can also shoot fire out of their eyes. Like,
yeah, I'd be afraid of somebody who could do that too.
Yeah,
they also keep they keep mentioning the Battle of Coombe Valley, which, besides having maybe one of the most inadvertently funniest names possible, also is like kind of an excuse that both sides use for like, well, you just can't trust those dwarves/trolls. They ambushed us, or they tricked us, or etc. Which feels like a very like Euro thing to like discriminate against another group of people with, like oh yeah, the Battle of Hastings, those English bowmen, and that's why we do the two fingers and shit. Which is like, okay, but like you're also, when you apply this to like, yeah, they're being racist and not just like we're having some sort of weird Euro country rivalry, that's where it gets fucking weird. And maybe I'm just not understanding this because I'm like, I don't know.
And also they don't get that they're both wrong, where they ambushed each other is the joke.
That's better than a lot of the fantasy racism, because the point is that they're both being complete idiots about it to each other, and there's no basis for this. Like, yes, they ambushed us because while we were in the process of ambushing them. So, it being the only battle in which both sides managed to ambush one another is actually very funny, and it actually makes a bit more sense of just the fact that they both hold this against one another.
It's true, and it does work a lot better, and it works a lot better in the book Thud, which we'll read in 15 years. It's one of the last books, but it does this interestingly, and I have more thoughts about it, especially with how that book ties the thoughts on this thing into like an understanding of class and like power dynamics and such. But I think in a weird way, like, well, the fantasy racism stuff is bad and implies the like, here's the real reason for it. In an even bigger way, my big problem with the way that this book and Pratchett in general does racism, and I mentioned this a little bit before, but to go further into it, is like there's a sense of equality between the two. To explain, like, there is no history of imperialism. There is no history of oppression. There is no history of mistreatment from one side to the other. Trolls hate dwarves, and dwarves hate trolls. In the real world, racism is something that is white supremacy. It is a specific thing instituted on people of color by like white supremacy majority, by the horrifying force of colonialism, imperialism. It's not just, wow, white people sure do hate, and they just get hated right back. There is a dynamic with history and horror behind it that, like, you can't just say, oh, well, I mean, racism is when one person hates another person because of their thing, because there is a history to it. You can't ignore systemic racism. And a lot of attempts, especially in Pratchett's stuff, Pratchett has a real tendency to fall back on one of his deepest thoughts, which is everyone is basically human. Every single person deserves respect as a human, and every single person is basically at their core the same. And it's what makes this world so good. It takes like fantasy tropes, like here's a bunch of dwarves, and then goes, well, yes, but at their heart, they're just people. They're people, you know? They have a different culture, but they're just kind of people. But the problem with that, the problem with his perspective of everyone in the end has these deep similarities, is it gets applied to other stuff. Like when we get to Jingo, and he's like, yeah, the culture of England and totally not fantasy, I think it's like vaguely Arabic, are just basically the same in a lot of ways, you know? Or here, where it's like, yeah, racism, fantasy racism, is just all of these dwarves hating these trolls and the humans hating everyone, and everyone just kind of is a bit racist, you know, instead of it being like what it is in the real world, which is, yeah, that is a thing. Like, people are racist to each other in that way, but fundamentally racism is like a systemic issue. It's not just that.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't think his books can ever fully grapple with race in a way that he can with, like, he definitely grapples with it when it comes to, like, gender. He definitely gets that, but yeah.
Yeah, like, because the folks joining at the watch the start of the book, he even says affirmative action, but it's kind of as a joke, like, because he doesn't really. Pratchett understands that this is a thing that happens, but he doesn't understand that, like, when we say affirmative action or whatever, it's an effort to correct this systemic racist, the systemic power imbalance that exists. And he doesn't, again, seem to quite get that, which is why he kind of treats it as a joke, right? Like, oh, so we have fantasy affirmative action, which is when you hire a troll. It doesn't,
Right, like,
it feels kind of gross, to be honest.
and the thing is, he in a weird way, he almost does get it, because, like, the Watch becomes this thing of, we are going to be a force against racism in the city by, like, actually making the makeup of our organization diverse and forcing people to, like, acknowledge this and not being able to ignore it and, like, confront their own internal biases, and also, like, going out of our way to make sure that we actually do have a diverse crew, even though we would normally just hire a bunch of weird humans. So it kind of is affirmative action. It's just he can't acknowledge why, because his only explanation for the history of racism is like, well, you know, humans just, they kind of are weird and shitty about trolls, you know?
Yeah.
And it just, it falls flat because it doesn't have that history.
Yeah, because there's this whole thing where, like, when they start hiring a bunch of folks, they start, okay, we're going to put together a bunch of, you know, we're going to pair up a bunch of dwarves with a bunch of trolls, have one of each, and send them around the town, and really to just, like, be visible. To have people see, like, yes, like, this can work. This is good and normal. And, like, that's good. That's a noble goal. Like, it's, you know, it's similar to how they'd put the Harlem... Why do you think Scooby-Doo met the Harlem Globetrotters so much? It's to show that, like, hey, this is good and to normalize it. But he doesn't quite get that, like, why this is necessary in the first place.
Yeah.
So we don't go into, like, any sort of backstory there. Yeah, those are really good points. Yeah,
also, I thought the mystery was a bit weak.
Yeah.
I mean, it was okay. I liked that there was sort of a callback touch there, because there's the first time that William just picks up the gun and it says something like, and this is the moment that William Diaz died. Well, he kept going for a little while. I like the fact that that was less of a lie than it looked like. Because, in reality, he actually died like 2 hours after that moment.
Yeah.
But we're led to believe it's him up until like 90% of the way through the book, where Vime goes, you've been leaving a lot of weird clues around, but that isn't how policing works, and I kind of figured this was you for a while now.
Yeah. And the Pratchett file has a quote, I think it is, that's something like, he specifically references Columbo, where you always know who did it, and then most of the episodes watching him put it together, and also the fact that you kind of know how it's going to end means it's more of a police procedural than a mystery. But also, the actual mystery itself was a little weird. I'll give you that.
Yeah, the twist here is that we're still building a procedure for the police to do, and that's the other big obstacle of the book.
Every single time the Watch makes any progress, it's dumb luck.
Yeah.
And, Vimes explicitly calls that out, after saying, people think that finding all these clues and doing this CSI bullshit is actual policing, but no, it's just being out there so much that you can't not find what's actually important.
I think also it really suffers from, like, the mystery not having Vimes for a good portion of it.
Yeah, Vimes is kind of out of the picture.
Yeah. A lot of the later
second
Vimes, like, I love Carrot leading a bunch of stuff, and I love other people leading stuff, but, like, a lot of the later Watch books have this steady through line of, like, Vimes has to solve the case. And so you get a whole bunch of other things going on and a whole bunch of threads being chased, but you also kind of have this slow progress you can follow of, like, something Vimes has to figure out in order to figure out what's going on. And in here, because he's just out of it for most of the book, you don't really have that. It's just kind of like, well, Carrot's figuring things out, and Ongua's figuring things out, and a bunch of people are finding all these pieces, but how are they going to come together? And then they all come together at the end, but it's not really clear how.
Yeah, Vine spends a lot of time, like, just getting married and, like, kind of dreading that and, like, fucking around in high society where he doesn't really want to be, but, he thinks this is his life now.
Yeah, it's very weird to see him, like, the scene where he's in the bath and he's trying to, like, sing really loud to drown out his anxieties that, like, people in the city are in danger and shit. That was very strange.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like this book isn't actually a great exploration of him specifically. I feel like it's an exploration of Carrot. This is the Carrot book. The next book, in my opinion, is kind of the Vimes book in a lot of ways. But you'll see.
Yeah. Not literally the next book, not Soul Music, but like the next Watch book.
Yeah.
Soul Music, I think if Vimes is in it, he does not have a very important role in it, if I remember correctly. Well, do we have any other closing thoughts before we head to the ranking at all?
Yeah, I have a few. One
Go
of
for
them
it.
ties back to the race thing, where it's like briefly we are treated to the character of Mayonnaise Quirm, who's just like a racist. Like he's the head of the Day Watch, and he's just
The guy who sucks.
Yeah, he has this whole thing where like, he just like he says slurs. He's a piece of shit. Everyone hates him. He's called Mayonnaise because he's like thick, oily, and white or whatever.
They do go out of their way to say like, okay, no humans in the Discworld are racist. This guy though, if racism existed, he'd be a racist.
Yeah. I mean,
which is like, why don't you just say that they're racists to the Discworld?
Once again, they say, "Oh, there's no racists in the Discworld," and then Vimes goes to a party where everyone's racist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the scene that happens. It's not great.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's probably my least favorite scene in the book.
Yeah, because it's like it comes off afterwards that Vimes is like Vimes is making fun of this guy, but it also just kind of sounds like he's saying shitty things to fit in.
Yeah, it's just.
I mean,
weird.
he was very much trying to make fun of them, but it's the picture of The Rock wearing a shirt that says satire requires a clear intent. Yeah.
And one thing I liked though was at the end, so we get this through line of a policeman is a man of the polis, and then we get Vetinari saying but what about a politician who is he kind of leaves it unsaid, but I think he was going for a politician is a man who is the city.
Oh, I was going to say that a politician is a tick of the city. As in a blood-sucking parasite.
Yeah.
But I think it works both ways.
Yeah.
We do also get our first introduction to on plus side. We get our first introduction to Leonard of Quirm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Leonard of Quirm.
Right. Yeah. He's been mentioned a few times before, I think.
Yeah.
But this is the first time that they're much more open to the fact that the guy's totally alive and he's totally doing his thing. He's being kept in the palace because the petition knows that everything this guy makes is some combination of worthless, weird, and incredibly world-shatteringly dangerous.
Yeah. Yep. He's fun. I like him.
Yeah, he's cute.
And a lot of bloody stupid Johnson, as he said.
Yeah, Bloody Stupid Johnson is just dumb enough that everything he makes is funny.
I'd like to give a shout out to the fact that like it's something I don't think I really realized until I read these books from start like until I started doing this podcast. But Terry really finds a way to put the librarian in every single Discworld book, huh? I was like, I remember being like, oh yeah, well the librarian's in, quite a few of the books, because popular bit character. No, the librarian is in every single Discworld book up to this point.
To be fair, he came in several times during Guards. He has an existing relationship with the Watch.
I remember being like, 50-60% of the way through the book, and I'm like, I don't think the librarian's shown up yet. And well, there he was. He showed up like pretty much right after that.
Where's my boy? Every time the librarian isn't on screen page, I want people to say, where's the librarian?
I was going to say he should be louder and angry and have access to a time machine, but he's already time traveled in the series. We've seen him do that before.
Yeah, that's true. He totally can. Oh my god. I don't think he's in every book, but I'm going to be very excited if it turns out that he's in every book.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, because he showed up, he turned into an orangutan in, I think it's the second book.
It was,
like Light Fantastic.
Opening moments of Light Fantastic.
Yeah.
And Pratchett doesn't even like referencing that book exists, so it's just sometime in the past this happened.
Yeah, they don't
ask.
Yeah, this happens. We've offered to turn him back. He just likes it like that.
Which mood.
Yeah, it's made very clear he's quite good at his job.
It's a good book.
Anything else?
Liked it.
Yeah, good book.
Yeah.
Let's decide scientifically how good it is.
I do want to just briefly mention the fact that we were very worried this was going to turn into a 2-part episode. This is almost exactly the point at which we start going to the ranking.
Okay.
I will say, I personally feel like I could talk about this book for like another hour and a half. I'm cutting myself off.
Okay, look.
I'd like to think that that's like because we're really good podcast hosts who are great at our jobs and
so
also
good, yeah.
stylish and wonderful people. But yeah, we could always carry that into like a bonus episode or something if you want.
Look, I
That
do
sounds
have to
awesome.
reflect one thing onto our dear listeners, and y'all already know what I'm going to say, but like, so in this book, we get a whole bit with like where Sybil Ramkin calls Vetinari by his first name, Havelock, and Vimes is kind of like baffled that like, I didn't even know he had a first name. I didn't know anyone would be on a first name basis with him. But and that part's all right. It's kind of like finding out that a teacher has a first name or meeting them at the grocery store for the first time. But also, if he was a cat boy, he would be Lord Vetinari. Thank you.
I didn't wanna
I'm
say
so glad
two
you brought that
things.
up.
One, Carrot's whole scene with Vetinari at the end, where he does the same thing as last book, where he's like, all we want is a dartboard, and then immediately turns it into a list of actual demands. It's a good scene.
Yeah.
Also followed immediately by Carrot and Vetinari both being like, well, you know, we could reinstate Vimes and he'd be a lot happier that way. Of course, he'd have to deal with rich people all the time and constantly piss them off, and it really, really annoy him, but also piss off every single rich person in the city. And they're both just like, oh, that's going to be so great. Hell yeah. Best possible thing we could do.
That exchange, that whole bit there, that is probably the most open and, like, candid that we will ever see Vetinari for the entire series. He actually opens up to Carrot, and that is wild.
He gets drunk eventually.
And this book, it does have some interesting things where it stands like in contrast to the last book specifically, like several times, like someone, you think it's usually Carrot, where it's like, well, yeah, last time, you know, I just had to like we just had to fight a dragon, and that was pretty straightforward compared to solving this fucking mystery.
Similar situation, but you see a dragon, you're like, well, that dragon's fucking some shit up. I gotta kill that.
Yeah.
This is a lot more complicated.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and also one more thing. We finally found the guy who everybody says that people's eyes look like. We found Gimlet's Delicatessen.
Oh, yeah.
In this book. It's a real place.
Yeah, we go in there.
There's
right?
no there's no real ideological thing behind that. It's just like, oh yeah, that's cool. And it's like a kind of a dwarf informal community center where a lot of dwarfs hang out and shit.
Which, you know, it's one more reason why everybody makes that comparison, because everybody knows the guy.
Yeah.
Also, my final thought on the book as a whole, like, I think one of the things about it is that the reason that it feels more like a real Discworld book to me as opposed to the Protestant, like, the reason that it feels like that way to me is just because it's like, as you said, there aren't as many straight up jokes in it for a lot of the time. There aren't as many like, haha, look at this funny bit we're doing. Instead, they're all just kind of weaved into the story. The Fool's Guild is hilarious, but it's not like a joke that they do and then move on from. It's a part of the story that they have to deal with. And I think that's a lot more reflective of like what Discworld becomes and what I like from it.
Yeah.
Is that it's like, hey, it's a very funny universe full of very silly stuff, but it's not just a joke. You have this funny thing, and then you have to deal with the fact that it's like that.
All right. Ranking time?
Finally, we can rank.
We probably should.
Okay.
Ranking time. All right. Going to the big board. I'm going to assume that this is already going to be firmly in our category of the good shit.
Yeah.
Top 5. Would we say that it is better than Guards, the last watch
Yeah.
book?
Absolutely.
Yes,
No
obviously.
contest there.
Okay. Is it better than Lords and Ladies, our last book that we reviewed?
I would.
I mean, do we really need to do this one by one? Is there any reason this is worse than Small Gods?
I would say it's better than Small Gods, personally.
That's,
Well, I think that Small Gods is very significant to me and has big ideology going on in it. I could also see you making a case for this book getting the number 1 spot over Small Gods, because as much as I like Small Gods, I'll also admit that it's not quite as tight of a book as Men at Arms, you know?
When are we gonna get
Just
Men
from
at
a
Legs?
formalist perspective. Well, that's feet of clay.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
We will get men of feet.
Foot guys, if you will.
Yeah.
And yes, that's a watch book, so...
Yeah.
Ah, well, I say corrected.
But
yeah, what do you think about that?
I don't think I could put it above Men at Small Gods.
Small Gods is like
this book. I really
okay, then we're gonna have a
book.
lot of trouble here because we put Small Gods and Reaper Man so close together that they're starting to get vacuum welded.
Okay,
yeah.
Small
Gods is like the thing about Small Gods too is that like it does a Hail Mary of a topic. It really goes for it.
Yeah. Small Gods made me cry.
Yeah, this book doesn't quite commit to it as hard. I think this book is probably better than Reaper Man, but
I mean, it's kind. I'm having a little bit of trouble here because this book was probably one of the most comfortable ones that I read. There's a lot here that just felt familiar to me because it was made up of all of the things that I just consider vitally important to what a Discworld book is.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is representative of the rest of the series in ways that the previous books were not.
Yeah.
And are we giving it credit? I mean, obviously it deserves some level of credit for being the one that introduces all of this stuff, but at the same time I know that I'm mixing feelings that I felt from, 20 books later.
Mm-hmm.
So like are we wedging this into that gap between 1 and 2?
It's hard to be impartial here. Yeah.
I will say that like I personally like this one better than Small Gods, but I know that y'all like Small Gods a lot more than I did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think maybe because Grace is the most impartial observer of the Discworld series here, I think that when it comes down to it, she has a very good point about it being about that. I also just think that this book maybe has like number 1, like the question is, do we consider number 1 to be like the zenith in terms of like attempts or the zenith in terms of actually pulling things off?
I'm going to be clear. You're going to have a hard time convincing me that the top of the list right now is Reaper Man, right?
Top of the list is
Small Gods. Number 2 is Reaper Man.
Oh, okay.
We had a pretty intense debate on which one of those two went on top.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
and like when I mentioned they were so close to one another.
I could put this above the others.
I mean, we can also go to a tier list and avoid the question.
Yeah, that was what I was getting at. Is that eventually here we're going to have to go to the tier list, and are we putting that on 1 more month?
I don't know.
I would want to put this at number 1 or number 2 if y'all feel that strongly about Small Gods. And I really liked Reaper Man, so this is hard for me to say. But this is probably a better book than Reaper Man.
It's a...
Would we be okay with number 2?
Are we less upset about number 2 than we are about number 1 or number 3?
The thing is,
I don't think we're going to manage to reach consensus here.
Here's my thing. I think that Men-at-Arms is going to become a new bottom rung for us in terms of Discworld. This is my prediction. Mm-hmm. Like, Men-at-Arms is good, but this is about as good as I remember most Discworld books being.
That's a good point.
We're going to read Feet of Clay. We're going to read The Fifth Elephant. We're going to read Thud. We're going to read Going Postal. We're going to read The Truth. These are all just books in the Ankh-Morpork thing, and all of those I think are better than Men-at-Arms.
Based on what I was saying earlier, I have to agree with you. So I am willing to put it at 3 because this was definitely better than Lords and Ladies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Lords and Ladies was a complicated thing to recommend at times, but yeah, I mean Reaper Man and Small Gods are still just too close to one another, and I think this book was better than Reaper Man. I don't know if it's for me it's like comparing it to Small Gods is like apples and oranges. But I think that from a
from just the structure of it, I think it was a better book than Reaper Man.
Yeah, it was certainly more competently assembled than Reaper Man, which is why I'm like,
yeah.
As much as I loved Reaper Man, I am willing to put this above Reaper Man.
This book didn't make me like break down sobbing over the idea of death in the universe.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. I really enjoyed it. I think I probably enjoyed it moment to moment more than Reaper Man, but I still like when I'm looking back at Discworld, if they ask me, hey, what book do you recommend? I'm gonna go with Reaper Man or Small Gods.
Reaper Man did make me cry.
No,
I'll
that's
give it
absolutely
that.
right. Shit, that is unfortunately a good point because both Reaper Man and Small Gods stand very, very, very well on their own.
Like,
All right.
do we go to the tier
Okay.
list, my folks? Like, that's an option.
I put this at third, but
All right. I'm willing to settle for third, I think.
Yeah, I was already on boat for third.
It feels like the cowardly option, but it's probably the right one to make.
it is the cowardly option, but it is only the cowardly option because I am staring at what's coming. And I don't... Okay, my prediction. The next 3 books we have are Soul Music, Interesting Times, and Masquerade. Soul Music's going to make an attempt. Masquerade we're going to enjoy, but neither of them are going to come quite to this point. Then we're going to hit Feet of Clay and Hogfather, and that is the point where this is going to fall apart, and it's going to be like, oh, well, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, Small Gods of Reaper Man are gone.
So we have a soft goal to keep this nonsense up until we get to Hogfather.
That is my prediction.
Yeah.
I'm going to make the argument for Feet of Clay, but
I'm
that's
going
my
to
prediction.
my goal is to keep this nonsense up like indefinitely because like the ranking is part of the whole conceit of the show.
I want to keep ranking every book.
Yeah.
Oh no!
yeah.
I like the fact that we're having to sit here at Ham and Haw and
Yeah,
just come
this
to
is the
grips
good
with our
shit.
hubris.
Yeah.
Yeah, the underlying joke is that it's impossible to rank this kind of thing because it's very subjective, but we could sure as hell try.
Yeah. I'm comfortable putting this at third mostly because in like I guess 4 or 5 months we're absolutely it's not going to be Small Gods is not going to be first anymore in my opinion. But that's mostly because I love Feet of Clay a lot. I really love that book. It's like my second favorite Discworld book ever. So you'll hear my argument for that then.
Okay. All right. So we've settled on 3.
3, I think, is going to be what we're going to go with for now.
Yeah,
but,
like maybe if I could see the future, I would have put it at 3 in the first place. But yeah, I can. Take
that's kind of the thing.
I could take this bargain.
That's kind of the sour note is that like it's a position only held by our memories of reading the other books. So it's not quite as objective as I'd like. But
I still think that there's an argument for Reaper Man and Small Gods, but that's fair.
But yeah, just so that we don't have 5 hours of talking about which number we should put on this book. I think 3's fine for now.
These are still ones that you could hand them to somebody and have them read them in any order. I mean, they're still absolutely the best ones we have had so far.
So yeah, look forward to our next episode when we cover Soul Music, which again is probably not going to be the best one we've read so far, but is very interesting. And also includes Susan Stohelit, another one of my favorite characters in the Discworld series. And an entire gender, just a whole gender. Really, really, I can't emphasize enough how much of a gender she is. I'm real excited for that.
I think it's
Very
weird when they get
excited
higher
for Soul
genders.
Music. I'm really curious as to what Interesting Times a Rincewind book in this era will look like.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting times.
Yeah.
I wonder what they're gonna do with the worst boy when the books get good.
Very, very curious. I'm obviously excited for Masquerade. Which
Masquerade rules.
It's the witch's book about Phantom of the Opera. Like, of course that's going to be fun as hell.
It's the Andrew Lloyd Webber one, which, okay, hell yeah. It's going to be trashy, but fun trashy. Just like Andrew Lloyd Webber's plays. I'm excited. But, yeah, we've got some good episodes coming up.
Do we get
You've been listening...
Did we get
sorry.
any
Oh, yeah, we
interesting,
did get some mail.
right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Going over to our mailbag. from our TikTok fully grown adult, Jace.
Hi.
Hey, y'all.
Sorry we called you a teen last time.
Yes, you are absolutely fully mature, and your literary opinions are extremely valid. Hey, y'all. I can't say I was as surprised by the treatment of elves in this book as you all seemed, but when I read that book, I was in the middle of my Celtic mythology kick. I read those elves not as Tolkien elves, but dicks. Instead, I read them as fairy lords, and y'all, fairies can be real pricks who do not care about human thoughts and feelings.
Oh, I'm
like
aware.
A good interaction with a fairy can end up with you kidnapped for a year and a day. Thanks, Jace, they/it/she. Yeah, we have a fairy as one of our hosts, so... Yeah, that's what's so fun about them. You never know what you're gonna get.
We weren't using that name anyways. It's fine.
Yeah. What was the one tweet going around like? What are your pronouns?
No.
have
The
your
very
pronouns.
specific I said, may I have them? The phrase
May I
is
have your
incredibly
pronouns?
important.
Yeah. And then they yeah,
Run
that's
off
great.
with them, yes.
But yeah. So and Plinth Edifice on Mastodon says that they feel vindicated by Lords and Ladies getting our previous number 3 spot before Men at Arms knocked it out in this episode. So congrats, you were right. We're very smart. We're telling you that you're right. Congrats.
It's very good.
Yeah. You've been listening to Discover's. We're kind of wrapping things up at the end of the show. I'm Iris J. You can find me at irisj.net or at irisjcomics on Twitter, Mastodon, and the new social media hosting site, Co-Host. I don't know if Co-Host is going to take off, but people are doing some weird CSS shit on there right now. That's kind of cool.
Oh, good. The best part of Tumblr was when people made themes that completely broke Tumblr.
I
So
can't wait
that's-
for this to either age incredibly well or just absolutely awfully. It'll be
I
exciting.
mean, I'll put it right next to my Pillow Fort account.
Yeah, that's
Listen.
the thing. We were all like psyched about Pillow Fort, and then
I
had the
have
Pillow Fort.
I have thoughts on it, but we're at the end of the episode, so
Yeah. So also, I'd like before I plug my non-related thing, I'd also like to plug that coming out. I'm not sure when. Probably in the next few months. I have a confession to make. I'm also starting another podcast. Myself, my partner Nero O'Reilly, and YouTube essayist Jesse Gender are going to be collaborating on another media criticism podcast called Sand Job, which is going to be
my God, it's
reviewing
happening.
the Sandman series of comic books.
Hell yeah.
Just in time for the live action series to come out on Netflix, which I guess is a real fucking thing that's happening in my lifetime. So
Dear.
yeah, we're going to be covering all of it, or at least as much as we feel like. That includes spin-offs, that includes one-shots, that includes
God, I was going to
weird
ask
side
if you
series.
were going to be foolish
No,
enough
yeah,
to go into the dreaming.
We're gonna go more exhaustive with it than we probably should.
So would you say,
just because
would you say you don't give
people-
sand jobs, you give sand careers?
That's true. We absolutely do. I am ready to talk about Morph Sandman and his terrible, no good, very bad day. It's going to be interesting, and I'm excited to, similar to this podcast, I'm excited to revisit a series that dramatically shaped the way I think and see the world when I was a teenager, and also ones that I have maybe some mixed feelings about as an adult. Maybe some more mixed feelings than I do about Discworld, if I'm being perfectly honest. But, it'll be interesting. As for the other thing that I'm recommending that isn't related, I'd like to recommend unsweetened barley tea. That is the flavor of the summer. Iced on a hot day, delicious. Anyways.
I'm gonna make up for all of that by just saying that I'm still Belina and I'm still much easier to find in the show notes than I am anywhere else because I just have not had any cool projects lately.
that's fair. Do you want to recommend something that isn't up from cool project?
I can't think of a damn thing right now. I'm sorry. It's been a rough month.
I'm hoarding
Oh,
your
shit.
recommendation. Now I'm recommending 2 things.
Go
Okay.
for it.
I'm Juniper. You can find me in the show notes or at Juniper Theory on every website ever. If you find something that doesn't look like me, tell me so I can steal their body, take them over, and then take their identity online. I will own every single Juniper Theory in all of existence.
Love this for you.
My recommendations are watched too much anime. I may have already recommended these, but now that the season is over, I don't feel bad recommending them anymore. Birdie Wing is the most deranged anime about golf you'll ever watch in your life.
Yes.
It's deeply, deeply strange and deeply, deeply gay and weird, and there's a giant golf mecha course and a horny vampire lady and a mafia war.
I love that it's not just gay implied. It's gay, baby.
It's really gay. Also, Dance 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 Sure is a legitimately very good anime. If you have thoughts about classical art or about boys that have trauma and want to see them dance at each other for their trauma, you'll have a very, very good time. I recommend it to, like, pretentious people who are fans of Ikuhara.
Yeah. Dance Dance Dancer is legit probably my favorite. It's going to be my maybe series of the year for 2022.
Yeah,
it's like really fucking good. Like it goes places that are more daring than like nearly every anime I've seen. It's not afraid to talk about like itchy, gross shit that most series kind of in the same vein. Like I kind of lump it in with sports anime. And that it's about a young boy attempting to surpass his limits and become the best. But, like, it gets into exactly how sucky ballet can be, and also about all of the fucking generational trauma and, like, weird gender problems and, like, fucking... It just gets into so much itchy, nasty shit that it's like, wow, you're really going for that. It's really good. I'm sorry to blow up your spot, but I'm concurring with June here. It's amazing.
It's genuinely really... It's hard to watch. And lastly, the second season of Demon Girl Next Door is airing right now. That anime is perfect. If you haven't watched it, it's maybe my favorite anime ever. It's great. These are all fucking great to watch. Go watch them. Yeah.
I've been watching a lot of stuff pretty much entirely at your recommendation, so I'm jotting these down for later.
The second season is somehow better than the first season. I liked the first season, but I adore the second season. It's very, like... I liked Mob Psycho Season 1. I loved Mob Psycho Season 2. Similar thoughts about this.
Ah, damn, I was going to recommend Mob Psycho.
Oh, shit. Well, I haven't recommended it, so you can go now.
Speaking of, I have been the internet's beloved Princess Grace. You can find my writing, programs, podcast posts, and everything else that's fit to plug at princess.software. I will enthusiastically recommend Mob Psycho 100. Season 2 just finished. It's fucking great. It has a lot to say about, like... the nature of fascism, the incel to fascist pipeline, or being a well-rounded individual. It's also just like fucking amazing to watch. It's gorgeous. I finished watching it with my girlfriend this past week, and it was so good we had to sit down and record a Wisecast about it, which is
oh hell yeah,
a podcast on the app Wisdom, the app for wise posters that you should not join because it's bad.
I forgot that you joined a bad podcasting app just to shit post on it. God.
But I do love your posts on Wisdom. They're so good. I tuned in for your posting about Mob Psycho. That was so good.
Let me be clear. This podcast app is terrible. It's scammy. It's probably 90% there so that someone can sell you a cryptocurrency. Which is why you should either, 1, never give it the time of day and never think about it again, or 2, do what Grace is doing and shitpost as hard as you can on it to make it a much worse place for weird financial bros to exist.
I tried to listen to when Grace and Bear were doing that Reagan versus Reagan thing, but I couldn't get the damn thing to work because I couldn't figure out what bizarre ass scripts I had to unblock. So your summary of it just explains why I couldn't make it work. Thank you.
It's like, for a little backstory, is like they sent me an email out of the blue saying, "Hey, we love your podcast where you talk about which Homestar Runner characters have sex. We'd love to have you on Wisdom, the app for the wisest posters and the wisest podcasters."
And so you couldn't resist. You couldn't resist showing up and see what you could do.
Yeah, so my name on
It's like a fucking.
my name on there is
It's like a fucking. Sorry.
my name on there is Doing Toicher, which is dong toucher with extra syllables.
I love you so much, Grace.
I'm opening up the app now because you could tell it's them because the podcast app is like Einstein with headphones.
Oh my god.
Fuck
I
yes.
can't take this.
Anyways,
If you want to hear more about this, tune in for our special Wisdom Only Discovers bonus episode. Which
shit,
may or may not be happening. You'll hear about it on the Twitter if I talk about it to Grace and it turns out it's a fucking terrible idea. Please, we'll only do it if we can make sure that this will in no way make any weird tech CEO crypto bro money or
if
anything
anything,
at all.
it will make us money because if you talk on Wisdom, it pays out in Wisdom Coin, which is not a cryptocurrency. But if you get enough of it, they will send you like a Starbucks gift card. Anyway, if you want to follow me on Wisdom, I'm at SexHaver on there.
This is
Please don't do it. It's
Wisdom
probably
is like
a bad
something
idea.
that jumped out of a fucking Akewood comic. It's amazing.
Right? I like.
Also, before we go,
I talked about Mob Psycho 100 for like an hour and change on there with Barrett, and they gave me 0.2 wisdom coins. So like,
what the fuck?
I think you get more if you have people guest on your Wisecast.
This is an Akewood thing.
Sorry, go ahead.
Before we go, one last thought about the actual book we read.
Yeah.
Dang, the gun was pretty cool. That's like a pretty cool like whole thing. Like the whole like gun with like a 6-barrel like rack that goes back and forth. That's pretty cool. I think that would be cool. I want to see that in a first-person shooter.
Extremely Hideo Kojima voice. This is very, very bad, but also cool. Wouldn't you agree?
Why didn't this book have Mads Mikkelsen in it?
I don't know. It should have.
All right.
Anyways, truly they were men at arms. Thank you for listening, and keep on disking our diskettes and diskinos and discasas.
Discaronis.
Yes.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Right.